Hello and welcome to the Strategies for Innovative Development case study video series. In these short videos, I share examples of how I have been able to work with leaders and their teams to build more innovative organisation cultures. I demonstrate how it's possible to use the Strategies for Innovative Development, or SID tool, to diagnose core issues, frame appropriate challenge questions, generate original ideas, and produce practical action plans for innovative change. I hope you enjoy the series. We've had the opportunity to work with Colgate-Palmolive, which, as you know, is a very large organisation based in America, and we worked in Latin America with the innovation team who wanted to find out how to improve dental hygiene for local communities in the region. They wanted not just to be providing services for the wealthier portion of the population who could afford to go to dentists, but they wanted to reach the people who couldn't afford to go and who really needed their help. So we developed this design thinking approach. We thought about how are we going to plan the project. And initially we looked into the challenges that we needed to address. We looked into how to coordinate the project effectively, and we taught the employees questioning tools to assist them with finding the best questions to ask, which would highlight the key issues that would need to be addressed. For example, here's a question that helps to identify the core problem. Why is dental hygiene a challenge? What's stopping everyone in the population from cleaning their teeth and for looking after their teeth? What's stopping them from making it a priority? So you can see these sorts of questions get to the core of the issue instead of saying we just need to sell our products to all portions of the population. Instead, you need to start asking, why are people not using our products, particularly in this area of the population? What can we do differently to attract them or to make them or help them recognize the importance of using these products? In design thinking, this is called an empathy approach or an empathy stage, where you're really trying to put yourself in the shoes of your customer or your client. You understand what are their issues, what are their perspectives, what are their key pain points, what's making it difficult for them to engage in your product or your service, and what can you do differently to make sure their needs are met. This is called human-centric design thinking. It's starting with the end person in mind. The next step for us was to go out with the Colgate-Palmolive team to go out and do some market research and identify the core question to be addressed. Ideally, you'll spend quite a bit of time not just diving straight into finding solutions, but into identifying and defining the right questions. So I've mentioned that there's this great quote from Einstein who says, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend the first 50 minutes asking the right questions, and only then would I after I've defined what the problem, only then would I solve the problem in the last 10 minutes. So you need to do the same thing. Don't just jump straight to solutions. Make sure you really understand what the client challenge is. That means asking lots of questions. You may not have time to do primary research, which is about doing interviews or ethnographic research or observing people and doing surveys and so on. So you can do some quick surveys with your friends, informal surveys with families, friends, or community members, but you don't always have the luxury of doing full research. So what you can do is start with internet research, do some reading, look at what's in the media, start to see if you can understand what's happening behind the scenes. What's the underlying core issue or core problem that really needs to be addressed? With the Colgate-Palmolive example, once we'd identified what the core challenges were, they then did their market research, so they coordinated a plan based on that. I'll come back to that later about how you coordinate a plan, but they had, very clear plans in place. of how they were going to proceed. They wanted to spend time as they launched the project to really explore the ideas and the options without jumping to the first and the most simple solution, which is not necessarily the best solution. That involves this discovery phase. That's where your exploration tools or approaches are needed. Once you've explored all the possible ideas, only then do you synthesize them, bring them together, coordinate the information, and decide what's the best possible solution out of all of these options. Because the first solution is not always the best. So you need to stretch yourself as much as possible to come up with as many different ideas as possible. And sometimes it's just that last stretch that really gives you a really unique, different solution that's also practical. With the Colgate-Palmolive team, we taught them ideation skills, we gave them ideation tools. There's a lot of different brainstorming tools out there that you can look for online if you need help. But basically you can just use post-it notes, and every person can write an idea on a post-it note, stick it up on a wall, just collect as many ideas as you can. You can also do it on a virtual platform like Miro, M-I-R-O. After you've collected the ideas, stretched yourself, only then do you start to judge, analyze the ideas, organize them, synthesize the information, and identify the core themes. So you collate these ideas, then you can prioritize them. You can have people vote on them, you analyze them, you narrow them down to identify what are the best and most unique out of those solutions. So we taught Colgate-Palmolive, we taught the team how to make those decisions. And I've got a tool that I'll share with you. This tool is called the Strategies for Innovative Development, or SID Model, and it's a tool that I've developed after over 25 years of client work and helping them to come up with creative solutions to challenges. So it's a way of getting the major steps from ideation to implementation onto one page. It helps you to capture all the information you need to cover just on that one page. So it shows how quickly and easily you can do it. Usually when I use this with groups, I have it printed up as a large flip chart. We stick it up on the wall, and then we have a lot of working flip charts around the room with the design thinking tools. So they're extra tools that can help us at each stage of this project. So ideally you're collaborating to stretch yourself, and then eventually to pull the information, collaborate, bring it together onto this summary sheet. So you can see at the top it says statement. So you want to identify what is the problem statement, what is the challenge, why is it a challenge, and usually there's an ambiguity embedded in there. For Colgate-Palmolive, it would have been something like, we want to offer dental hygiene for the populations that need it, but these poorer communities cannot afford it. There's the ambiguity. That's why it's such a challenge. So then you go to turning it into a question. How can we provide dental hygiene for the populations who need it the most, if or when they don't have the income to be able to afford it? You'll see that you start at the top and you go through these phases initially of inquiry. So that's where you're questioning, you're challenging, you're identifying what is the core challenge. And in the blue bubble at the top, that's the design thinking mode. So you're trying to define the problem, you're making sure you're empathizing with the customer or the end user, and you're stating the issue and turning it into a solution-focused question. So this is where you're planning for the project before you move into the exploration phase, which is where you're launching the project, and that's where you're starting your ideation to come up with your ideas. So as I've mentioned before, you want to make sure you're really creative, stretching your thinking, not worrying or judging at the beginning, but using the creative thinking or the explorer mode before switching to critical thinking or that preserving mode to define what the key client challenges are. Here's an example of how we used this model for Colgate-Palmolive. The statement was that low-income communities need to understand the value of dental hygiene, and you can add, but they don't have income. So that needs to be embedded or incorporated into your problem statement and turned into a question. So then we started ideating. Imagine these points that are going to come up soon as post-it notes, and imagine that we're putting them around the room, collecting them. So at the beginning, we don't judge them, we just collect them. Someone might say, oh, well, we need to educate people about gum disease because so many people have gum disease and they might need to recognise the value of teeth cleaning. Somebody else might put up a post-it note saying, we need to offer teeth cleaning classes. So that means that people will have the skills and the knowledge of the importance of dental hygiene. Somebody else might say, we need to visit schools and train teachers in the schools so they've got the knowledge and skills to pass on to the students. So you can see how in the ideation phase, one idea should lead to another, and you build on your ideas and build on each other's ideas to make sure you're capturing all this information. You might decide to reach mothers with babies so they can start right from when the baby is young to train and teach their children how to take care of their teeth and the importance of cleaning their teeth. So I'll just put up some more examples here. You could have training community nurses. You could have mobile dental vans to do events. You could have ads with TV stars to be influencers. You could visit sports centres and events. You could have preschool plays about the importance of dental hygiene, health classes for high school students. You can see how the ideas get generated. You could have rooms and community centres that have dedicated areas for dental hygiene. You could develop a float for a festival. So it doesn't matter what the idea is, just keep collecting ideas. And you can bring in the client and ask them to contribute ideas as well. Bring in other people to really stretch that thinking. But only then, once you've collected a broad range of ideas, you might say, this is enough, this is a good collection, and now we need to synthesize and decide what is the very best idea. So everyone might vote and they might think, I like the mobile van, and they might put a dot on that to identify that as what they think is the best idea. Well, think about how it links with some of the other ideas. If you have a mobile van, then you can educate people about gum disease. In community settings, you can do it in schools. You can have teeth cleaning classes in the van. You can go to mothers' clinics, babies' clinics. You can go to sports centres. You could use the mobile van as a float in a festival. So you can see how that one central idea actually links really well with some of the others. So you're looking to make sure you've thought of all the options and you're separating, connecting ideas to look at the best possible combination or integrated ideas before you land on the final solution. You might pick that mobile van, and then you'll pick, that's a great idea. I'm going to bring that idea down to the bottom of the chart. So you can actually pick that post-it note and put it at the bottom of the chart in the action plan. You might decide, why this is important, because you can get a wide reach and it can be applied in so many contexts. Then you need to look at when is it going to happen. Get really specific, really practical. So it could be by the 22nd of December, we need to buy the van. So a certain team might be responsible for doing it. You might have to put the names of the heads of PR in. So don't just put everyone will do it. If you don't put any names, then no one will do it. Put specific names in there and they need to be accountable. And then you decide, well, what's the process? How do we go through this? What's step by step? So you're putting up a business case, project plan, you get approval to get the budget, you purchase the van. So you can get the idea of how something as simple as this tool can help you work your way through from ideation to a solution quite quickly. If you've only got a short time, you might not have days and days, weeks and weeks, or months and months to develop a full design thinking process. If you've only got a short time, this is how you can apply an idea really quickly and come up with a practical solution.